Welcome to the Enabling a Remote Workforce test drive demo. This demo actually illustrates how the collection of tools and technologies in the Windows presentation virtualization scenario enables companies to deploy and manage remote workforces. For many of you, you would know this technology as Windows Terminal Services. It is still called Windows Terminal Services in Windows Server 2008. However, due to Microsoft's expanded virtualization solution set, we now are bundling this under a presentation virtualization scenario, especially with all our technical information on our website. So in this demo, what we'll show you is how the products and technologies of Windows Server 2008 presentation virtualization make it possible for you to empower remote users and really create a remote workforce. In this context, we're specifically referring to the users who connect to the corporate network over VPN or over terminal server connections to gain access to corporate applications. And these users often face many challenges: complex VPNs that do not work from all locations, dealing with multiple desktop scenarios and sessions, and also performance issues. By moving applications from VPN and classic terminal server interfaces into applications like TS Gateway, TS Remote Apps, and TS Web Access, you can really reduce the operational costs and complexity and offer a much better user experience. In this demo, we'll show you how remote users can connect from a home computer, gain access to work desktop, and then run applications that reside on a terminal server without the need for a full terminal server desktop. Let's begin by taking a quick look at Active Directory. We've created a group that represents users that are allowed to have remote access resources on my network. This group lives under my managed objects, and it's called Authorized Remote Access Users. If we have a look at the members of that group, currently only Don Hall is a member, and we'll be using this group in the configuration of our remote workforce solution. The key to presentation virtualization is the Terminal Services Gateway. Without the Terminal Services Gateway, you only have two options to give users outside the firewall access to internal remote desktop sessions. You either have to create a lot of rules, or you have to establish a VPN and then connect over that VPN. And neither of these solutions are easy to manage, and both drive up operational costs and decrease efficiency. The TS Gateway solves this problem by allowing every connection to come in over one single port 443, and by encrypting each session to be using SSL. To the outside, the TS Gateway computer is a web server. And once the connection is made, the TS Gateway proxies the connection to the correct resource on the internal network. Access to the internal network is managed through a combination of things we call CAPs, connection authorization policies, and RAPs, requirement authorization policies. A CAP allows you to define who can connect to the gateway and what authentication they can use, and a RAP allows you to define the groups of computers and assign permissions to those groups. This enables you to create a scenario where you can allow a larger group of users to connect using the TS Gateway to their own internal desktops, but only a subset of that larger group can connect to a domain controller. So let's actually have a look at a demonstration of how this all works. I'm going to swap over to my Terminal Services Gateway machine and open up the Terminal Services Gateway Manager, which is my integrated management technology for this machine. If I click on my server object and look at the properties of that, you'll see that I have a number of different configurations. Here is my SSL certificate. I can create a certificate, a self-signed certificate, or actually utilize certificates that I have within my organization. You can see here is my my connection authorization policy store. I'm actually utilizing a local CAP. I could utilize a global CAP as well. And for so on as well. We can build server farms, and we can provide auditing connection within this Terminal Services Gateway. Let's actually go and have a look at my connection authorization policies, and there's a number of ways I can get to this. The easiest way, of course, is from the management tool from my Terminal Services Gateway Manager homepage. So if we look at the authorization policies, we can actually look at one of the existing policies and look at things such as the requirements tab. So you can see that this is requiring access into this group, so you need to be a member of this group, and you actually have to utilize a password. We could also enforce smart card authentication as well, either password or smart card, or just smart card itself. Looking at my resource authorization, you'll see that if I look at the properties of this, I can look at the user groups that have been associated with this group as well. So So this gives me that great opportunity, a great ability to actually really hone in on providing my remote users access to things like desktops, internal services, and core critical applications in their environment. With an SSL certificate assigned and the TS gateway configured, utilizing both the wrap and the cap, we can go ahead and connect. And you connect utilizing the standard RDP client. You just have to tell it to use the gateway. So let's actually flick over to my XP machine and do that. So let's first actually look at some of the settings of this RDP connection in utilizing the Terminal Services Gateway. You can see that I actually have to use the internal name of the computer I'm connecting to, even if that computer is not exposed to the external world, because that name will then be passed through. So for example here, I actually want to connect to my domain controller, even though I'm connecting through my Terminal Services Gateway. If I look at my advanced tabs and my TS Gateway, you can see this is where I put my information in about a TS Gateway, and you can of course provide this information automatically to your users out there so they can integrate this in really easily. Once you've initiated the connection, all you really have to do is provide log-on and password. So let's do that. We've just basically initiated connection. We're going to log on with that Don Hall account. And put my password in. And this is now going and contacting my Terminal Services machine. So with this Terminal Services Gateway, as I'm connecting directly to my domain controller, I now have full Terminal Services access to this domain controller as per my rights. There are cases where you perhaps don't want to make a full desktop available, such as in this demonstration, and these are situations where a TS RemoteApp is more appropriate. The TS RemoteApp programs are distributed as MSI files or as RDP files. Let me give you an example of that. Here we have an MSI file for WordPad. This is actually a TS RemoteApp program version of the WordPad. It actually runs on the terminal server, not on my local machine. What we're going to do is go ahead and install it. And once it is installed, we're going to launch it to see what the experience is. So you can see it's added a component to my desktop. I just double click on that. And this TS RemoteApp is actually utilizing this gateway as well. We'll go ahead and connect with my nominated user account and password. And you can now see that application has started. It's running on my desktop, in a window on my desktop. Even though it's running on the terminal service, I get this seamless Windows look and view. So let's actually close this information down. The last thing I want to show you is TS Web Access. TS Web Access is a way to organize all Terminal Server Remote App programs into a single website where they can be launched. The benefit of the Terminal Server Web Access is you don't need to install anything, and you don't need to be running the application locally. You only need to click the application for the list of available applications. So let's actually open my Terminal Server Web Access site. Log on with my user account. And you can see now I'm out connecting to my Terminal Server Web Access, and it shows me all that information, all the applications that are available via our terminal services. So I can click on Windows Contacts. It will ask me whether I want to connect to it and what resources I'll have available. When I connect to those, I can then connect to it and it will launch up on my local machine. So in this demo you saw how several Windows Server 2008 technologies came together to enable you to increase the efficiency of the remote workforce without the need for complex and costly VPNs. I hope you enjoy the rest of our test drive demos. Thank you.